Rubble and beggars everywhere I looked. That was what I saw. I remembered beggars in the old days, too. Baba always carried an extra handful of Afghani bills in his pocket just for them. I'd never seen him deny a peddler. Now, though, they squatted at every street corner, dressed in shredded burlap rags, mud-caked hands, head out for our coin. And the beggars were mostly children now, thin and grim-faced, some no older than 5 or 6. They sat in the laps of their burqa-clad mothers alongside gutters at busy street corners and chanted, "Bakshesh, bakshesh," and something else. Something I hadn't noticed right away. Hardly any of them sat with an adult male. The wars had made fathers a rare commodity in Afghanistan. We were driving westbound towards the Karta Sed district on what I remembered as a major thoroughfare in the 70s, Jada Maywand. Just north of us was the bone-dry Kabul River. On the hills to the south stood the broken old city wall. Just east of it was the Bala Hissar fort, the ancient citadel that the warlord Dostum had occupied in 1992. On the Shurdarwaza mountain range, the same mountains from which Mujahideen forces had showered Kabul with rockets between 1992 and 1996, inflicting much of the damage I was witnessing today. The Shurdarwaza range stretched all the way west. It was from those mountains that I remember the firing of the Topa Chast, the noon cannon. It went off every day to announce noontime, and also to signal the end of daylight fasting during the month of Ramadan. You'd hear the roar of that cannon all through the city in those days. I used to come here to Jadamaywan when I was a kid, I mumbled. There used to be shops here and hotels, neon lights and restaurants. I used to buy kites from an old man named Saifo. He ran a little kite shop by the old police headquarters. The police headquarters is still there, Fareed said. No shortage of police in this city, but you won't find kites or kite shops on Jadamaywan or anywhere else in Kabul. Those days are over. Jadamaywan had turned into a giant sandcastle. The buildings that had entirely collapsed barely stood, with caved-in roofs and walls pierced with rocket shells. Entire blocks had been obliterated to rubble. I saw a bullet-pocked sign half buried in an angle in a heap of debris. It read, "Drink Coke." I saw children playing in the ruins of a windowless building amid jagged stumps of brick and stone. Bicycle riders and mule-drawn carriages swerved around kids, stray dogs, and piles of debris. A haze of dust hovered over the city, and, across the river, a single plume of smoke rose to the sky. "Where are the trees?" I said. "People cut them down for firewood in the winter," Fareed said. "The Shirawi cut a lot of them down, too. Why? Snipers used to hide in them."
A sadness came over me. Returning to Kabul was like running into an old, forgotten friend and seeing that life hadn't been good to him, that he'd become homeless and destitute. "My father built an orphanage in Sherikona, the city south of here," I said. "I remember it," Farid said. "It was destroyed a few years ago." "Can you pull over?" I asked. "I want to take a quick walk here." Farid parked along the curb on a small back street next to a ramshackle abandoned building with no door. "That used to be a pharmacy," Farid muttered as we exited the truck. We walked back to Jaded Maywand and turned right, heading west. What's that smell?" I said. Something was making my eyes water. "Diesel," Farid replied. "The city's generators are always going down, so the electricity is unreliable, and people use diesel fuel." "Diesel? Remember what the street smelled like in the old days?" Farid smiled. "Kebab. Lamb kebab," I said. "Lamb," Farid said, tasting the word in his mouth. "The only people in Kabul who get lamb now are the Taliban." He pulled on my sleeve. "Speaking of which," a vehicle was approaching us. "Beard Patrol," Farid muttered. That was the first time I saw the Taliban. I'd seen them on TV, on the internet, on the cover of magazines and in newspapers, but here I was now, less than 50 feet from them, telling myself that the sudden taste in my mouth wasn't unadulterated naked fear, telling myself that my flesh hadn't suddenly shrunk against my bones and my heart wasn't battering. Here they came, in all their glory. The red Toyota pickup truck idled past us. A handful of stern-faced young men sat on their haunches in the cab. They all wore beards and black turbans. One of them, a dark-skinned man in his early 20s, with thick, knitted eyebrows, twirled a whip in his hand and rhythmically swatted the side of the truck with it. His roaming eyes fell on me, held my gaze. I never felt so naked in my entire life. Then the Talib spit tobacco-stained spittle and looked away. I found I could breathe again. The truck rolled down Jade Maywand, leaving the trails of dust. "What is the matter with you?" Farid hissed. "What? Don't ever stare at them. Do you understand me? Never." "I didn't mean to," I said. "Your friend is quite right, Aga. You might as well poke a rabid dog with a stick," someone said.